Welcome to tonight's webinar at Hope Church Online. Hopefully you can all see us okay and hear us okay. If you're joining us on Facebook, then stick in a comment, give us a thumbs up, let us know that you can hear us okay and that everything is cushy. My name is Josh Fox. I'm one of the leaders here at Hope Church. And tonight we are going to be having a live webinar with Dave Burke, who is joining me tonight, and I'll introduce him in a moment. And hopefully you've been catching up on everything that's been going on this week. So last night we had an interview with our pastor Steve, interviewing a guy called Jeremy Marshall about his story with suffering and cancer, which is really, really powerful. If you missed that, you can scroll back through the Facebook videos and events and give that a watch as well. So what I'll do, I want to introduce Dave. He's going to share maybe a little bit about who he is and what he does, and then we're going to crack on with tonight. So Dave, very welcome to tonight, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate being here.
Fantastic. So why don't you just give us a little bit of a background about what you do, Dave, as a job, and then we'll get started on that.
Okay. Well, I'll give you a little part of history. My first job was in animal behaviour research after I left university. So I spent a lot of time, several years, working on pest control and how you can use animal behaviour to do that. Did a bit of teaching with the Open University at that time. But then through a number of different stages, I began working in churches. And I've just finished, really, come to the end of working almost 40 years in pastoral ministry. And latterly, in the last 20 years, in the northeast of England. So I'm from Sunderland. And last October, I stepped down as pastor of Bethany City Church, handed on to somebody half my age, and then basically began doing a ministry of teaching and training in the area of mental health, the Bible, etc., etc. So I do a lot of different things, but that's the center of gravity of what I do.
Okay, fantastic. Why your particular emphasis into mental health then? Why did it kind of go that way?
Well, to some degree, it's a backbone occupation in pastoral ministry in a church.
Right. Yeah.
Roughly 10% of the people in our congregation have had treatment for a depressive or an anxiety-related condition. Now, you can deduce a number of things from that. Maybe that's how bad my preaching is. It's just, that might be the case. But I think probably that figure's about pretty common for most churches. So you have a ministry to people within the church, but you also have this huge ministry to people out with the church who are coming to the church for support. And particularly now, churches are frontline organizations. We're running just about the only food bank functioning in Sunderland at the moment, every day. And we're meeting people in all kinds of states of repair mentally. And we had to sort of gear up to do this. So I began to do some work on how can we equip people, and what I do now grew out of that, really.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, and I guess a lot of pastoral ministry within church and within kind of Christian ministry, does especially emphasize on mental health, and especially in today's climate where mental health is such a big issue.
It is. It's huge.
Yeah. So you're doing your current role full time now? Because I believe you used to be pastor.
Well,
and then now you're...
Officially, I'm retired. Stepped down from pastoral. People around here say that I've retired. I say I have not retired. I've stopped saying that now because people aren't persuaded by that. I'm kind of retired, but I'm focusing very strongly on doing this, partly as a commercial concern. I run a little business called Dave Burke Training, and I do that in companies and businesses. And that enables me to do that in churches and Christian organizations and be very relaxed about what I charge them, because charities and churches don't have a lot of dosh. So my vision is the commercial side of what I do fuels and finances the other side of what I do. So that's the plan anyway. At least it wasn't till lockdown. It's completely broken down now.
Yeah. Then it's all online a bit now, isn't it? So,
It's all up in the air. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. That's totally fine. Oh wow. Okay. Yes. So it has been, I guess, a transition over the past year or so. Because was it, I believe, last year that you stopped working as a pastor, and then
That's it, yeah.
giving all of your time to this cause now? Then, so would you say, have you seen like an increase in the demand for these services and the training that you offer, both kind of commercially and within the church as well?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of interest. So in nationally, I belong to an organisation called Mental Health First Aid England, and we have a number of courses which are designed to equip people really thoroughly to support friends, colleagues, create a mentally healthy workplace, create a mentally healthy charity. And I teach courses that are sanctioned by them, that are accredited by them. Our goal is to train 1 in 10 of the English population.
1 in 10, wow.
1 in 10. We're up to 1 in 80 so far. But if you think about it, that's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
Yeah.
So how many is that then? 1 in 80? What is it? What, 66 million?
Crumbs. Divide 66 million by... Yeah, by 80.
maybe someone can do that for us and comment in the answer.
Yeah, actually, 66 million, that's the population of the British Isles, so it'll be less for England. But it's quite a few. It's quite a few people. Yeah. There's about 1,500 people like me who do this. Wow. I'm probably one of the very few Christian pastors who do it. Right, okay. I found in the churches there are slightly different flavours of response to mental health issues. Some embrace the need for some proper training.
Yeah.
Some, at the opposite end of the scale, reject the idea that the secular world can have any insight into this that can help us at all. And really, we just get our insight from the Bible. I hope we'll see tonight the Bible's incredibly helpful. Actually, the Bible's amazingly helpful.
Yeah.
And some Christian thinkers down through the centuries have been amazingly helpful. But there's a lot to be learned from the scientific and psychological world. And I think it's good if as Christians we can do, we recognize the good in the world around us, and we commend that, we use that. Even if we have to filter out some nonsense from it as well.
Yeah, of course, certainly. Yeah. In fact, one of our someone who's watching on Facebook tonight, Sarah Jane Reed, says that she's done this course and it's excellent. So
good.
Something that's really good.
That's fantastic.
I'll use this opportunity just to call out, say hello to a few people. So we've got quite a few people watching. So hey to Matt and Ellie and Karen and Emily Soodle, Carol, Hugh, Ashley, Bruce, and a few others as well. And some of those might have dropped off, but yeah. Oh, and Skylar is commented in. So 56 million divided by 80 is 700,000.
Right. Hi, Skylar. It's nice to know that you're around.
Yeah, fantastic. So thanks for that, Skylar. That's really, really great. Fantastic. Yeah. So. So I guess it is quite an interesting comment. And one thing that Steve had just mentioned before, Steve just commented on Facebook before, why do you think there has been an increase? So if there has been an increase in recent times and an increase in this demand for this sort of training, why do you think that has increased?
Well, the need is there. Probably 10% of the British population would suffer from an anxiety-related or depressive illness at some point in their lives. That's a huge number of people.
That is a lot of people.
Now, it might be an episode which is caused by an incident in their life, maybe bereavement or something like that. It might be something much deeper and much more long-lasting. But so it's an issue. It's there. We are prepared to talk about it now, whereas previous generations weren't prepared to talk about it. And that means once we have permission to talk about our feelings, about our emotional landscape, then we have opened up a subject which is incredibly important for our sense of being who we are, enjoying life as much as we can do, and also developing resilience in those areas when we feel under pressure. So a topical example would be right now, with everything shutting down, people's jobs uncertain, people's pensions uncertain, all kinds of things.
Certainly.
The stuff we relied on for our sense of well-being, our sense of peace and confidence, those seem to have gone. And my guess at the moment is that a lot of people who have a predilection to an anxiety type of condition may well be feeling very anxious as a result of the static that's in the air.
Yeah.
It's important that we can minister to those folks really appropriately. But the great thing is that, 50 years ago, the generation that fought the war would have just said, well, they would have just said what the Romans used to say back in the days of the Roman Empire. Just suck it up, just endure. And actually, there's a better way forward than that. There's a better way forward than that. And the church can be tremendously an agent in bringing something better. And
I'm sure that this training benefits, and the services you offer benefits both people who have quite severe and acute mental health disorders, but also just that's the average person, the average run-of-the-mill issues. I would say, like we all have periods of trying times where we come underneath.
Absolutely. Well, that's quite important, because there is such a thing as mental illness, but there's also such a thing as feelings. And just because you've got feelings doesn't mean to say you're ill, diagnosably. It's important to recognize the difference. If I'll take an example some people might think of as trivial, but if, say, you have a dog, you've had a dog for 15 years and your dog dies. For some people, that's an occasion for profound grief. This is very real for that person, and you would expect that. And that's normal, that's okay. But when that profound grief goes on and on and on, it takes away people's joy in living, enjoyment of the things they normally do enjoy. Maybe they're losing sleep, so there's a bunch of symptoms. Maybe that grief is tailing into something like an illness. And being able to tell the difference is quite important.
No, certainly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, thanks for that. Okay. Just a quick point to everyone that's watching, please be sticking in your comments and your questions on Facebook. I don't actually think we've got anyone watching on Zoom, but that's totally fine. So stick all your comments and questions in there. It'd be great to have some engagement, some feedback, and please be sharing this post on your personal profiles as well, just to allow other people to see it and to see what's going on and to participate in the discussion. So I guess one of the reasons why we asked you to come in tonight, Dave, was to talking about specifically kind of like fear and anxiety, and I guess that is just within a whole spectrum of mental health issues, but especially relating at this time with everything that's going on with the coronavirus, COVID-19, and the impact it's having on people's lives. Maybe you could give some comments as to how you can think how straight away it impacts people's lives and how it impacts both fear and anxiety at this time. Okay.
Well, for start, it feels as though a lot of the things which are foundational for us have been taken away. So all our plans for this year have gone down the Swanee. I had a diary full of stuff to do up till October. My diary is now empty. And that's very frightening for a lot of people, a lot of self-employed people, employed people whose jobs are not there at the moment. And all of the questions around that: are they going to be there when I get back? How long will this continue? What will happen afterwards? What will be the economic repercussions of this? And so in lots of ways, I don't mean this glibly, but I do think this is a God-given opportunity to look at what it is that really gives us peace and a sense of security.
Right, okay.
A friend of mine, a few years ago, a very dear friend of mine, got some terrible news. He had an advanced cancer, and he was not expected to live. And we talked on the phone. I'll never forget what he said to me. He said, look, this is when we discover whether I really believe all that stuff I've been preaching for years. And I think for Christians, this is quite a challenging time. Do we really believe that stuff we've been talking about? Do we really believe the one we've been worshipping all that time? But for people watching who are not Christians, who maybe not quite sure what they are, or maybe you feel you're halfway there, or maybe you just think, oh, crumbs, these people drive me mad. I'd want to say to you that I believe we've got something so solid that even when life gets very iffy the way it does now, you can feel peace. You can know a deep sense of security, even though you might be rattled by the things that are taking place around you.
No, certainly. Yeah. So a comment just from Jamie, just seen down here. What is it that really gives us peace then? So if peace is what has been taken away, and what makes us question what we find secure and what we find peaceful, what is it that really gives us peace? Okay.
I think that word peace is really, really interesting. In our culture, peace means the absence of conflict or a sense of calm. So on the international stage, it's the absence of war. On the personal stage, it's a sense of calm, a sense of contentment, a sense of calm. And there are various ways of getting that. You know, peacemakers work throughout the world to try and keep warring factions apart. And in our own culture, we have a number of avenues towards peace. Meditation, mindfulness, exercise, jogging, you name it. A lot of us have got stuff in our lives that gives us a sense of well-being. So you get home from work, you watch an episode of a box set that you like, and you maybe have a glass of beer or a glass of wine. That brings people peace. So on that level, we get access to that sense of calm, that sense of absence of conflict. In the Bible, the word peace is used all the time. And it means those things, but it means something much deeper than that. The Hebrew word shalom is the root of everything, all the words that are used for peace in the Bible. In the New Testament, it's the Greek word irene. But all of the characters in the New Testament and Old Testament, when they talk about peace, they're talking about shalom. And shalom's a greeting today in the Arab world, in Iran, which isn't an Arabic country, but they will say salam. In the Arab world, it's salam alaikum. In Israel, it's shalom. It's a greeting. We don't use that word as a greeting, but you may find yourself sometimes saying to people, all the best, all the best. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, of course.
And shalom means that, all the best, all, absolutely all the best. It means wholeness. It means completeness. And the best word, the best phrase to translate it in English is well-being.
Right. Okay.
So the preoccupation of our culture with well-being, with peace, is absolutely central to the Bible. And the Bible roots this ultimate sense of peace in a relationship with God, in a connection with God. So in the New Testament, Jesus, a man saturated in the Old Testament, saturated with the Old Testament idea of shalom, says, shalom I leave you, my shalom I give you. I do not give as the world gives. My shalom I leave with you. So he's saying, I can introduce you to a depth of shalom, well-being, wholeness, peace, which is beyond anything else that jogging or mindfulness can give you. Valuable those things can be. And it's about a connection with the God who made the universe. That's the root of it.
Well, okay, yeah. So it's the full peace that God can give us and experience. Yeah. It's not just an absence of problems, but
That's right.
A complete well-being. Yeah.
Complete well-being. And it's an amazingly important word in Old and New Testament. So two really famous bits of the Bible, Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount, blessed are the shalom makers, for they will be called the sons of God. And, blessed are they who bring this well-being to others. So every church that says, let's train up a group of people to help people who are struggling with their mental health, they are shalom makers.
Right, yeah.
Everybody are people who says, let's help people to find this connection with God. They are shalom makers. It's what we're doing now, actually.
Yeah.
So that's, another famous quotation from the New Testament in Romans 5. Therefore, since we've been made right with God by faith, by trusting him, we have shalom with God.
Right,
we don't start out with a great relationship with God. God wants to put that right. Jesus died to put it right. And once that's right, other things can flow from that.
Yeah. Great. Fantastic. Thanks, Dave. So I'll just catch up on a few of these comments here with a few more come in then. So Amy says, I think true peace is having hope and knowledge deep down that all is well, despite whatever is going on around us. So yeah, that's really great. So yeah, I guess it's
that's very helpful. That's very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's having that wholeness despite the circumstances, isn't it? And the peace that the Lord gives passes all understanding. Yeah.
Yes. Well, just to chip in on that, if you read after this, if you read 2 Corinthians chapter 1, first half of the chapter, Paul, one of the first Christian leaders, and his team describe a situation where they felt they were going to die in the place we call Turkey today. They called it the province of Asia then. And Paul said, why did God let this happen? And he answers his own question. He says he let this happen so that we could learn to trust him. In him we have set our hope. So there's that word that Amy used. You can't have peace without hope. You need to know the future is sorted.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, you can't have peace without hope. There we go. And then Sarah also asks, do you think that the falling away of people's usual peace props has facilitated conversations now on faith and God? So I guess with everything being stripped away and loads of uncertainty, in the things that we value and the things that we normally find peace in have kind of been taken away from us for a time. Do you think that's caused people and allowed people to make a step towards God and find peace from him?
Truth is, I don't know the answer to that question because the story hasn't been told yet. Yep. It's unfolding, it's happening.
Yep. That's right. Yeah, we're only a few weeks in, aren't we?
Yes, but I wonder if I can find it on my phone. I got a text. I switched my phone off in case it went off. I got a text from a friend who works in our local hospital last night. It's a very long text.
Right.
This person's a consultant and not given to excesses of joy. But this person just wrote this long text saying, "You wouldn't believe what's happening here. We've got medics praying with people before they go on duty." Wow. Because the atmosphere here is so intense. And we've got people who are not Christians, medics, doctors, nurses, asking for prayer before they start their shift.
Wow.
Now, this guy's jaw was on the floor. He doesn't normally get excited. But that was just interesting. Interesting. And so, I got a feeling that's happening up and down the country, up and down the country.
Yeah, and we hope so as well. We hope that, in these difficult times, people do start to find peace in God and place their hope in him. So that's really great. Fantastic. So one of the comments that Steve had before was you were talking about the difference between illness and emotion. So when we all experience emotion, negative and positive and very varied. And I guess it's a bit of a spectrum, isn't it? When we have like a negative emotion, and that's a spectrum from like a negative emotion, which kind of then transcends into a more severe and acute mental illness. So, what's sort of the difference between those? And I guess his second question as well was, how do we help to build families and churches which are kind of resilient to the hardships of life and resilient to those things happening, so people don't travel down that spectrum, so to speak, so that we deal with those negative emotions.
Well, the first question, what's the difference? All of us have feelings. Some of us have very profound feelings. Others have perhaps more taciturn, less reactive. But we all have feelings.
That's me.
I'm
quite a level person, Don't really get that excited. Don't really get that sad.
I'm like that as well. But some have very deep troughs and very deep, very high highs. Yeah. That's human. That's fine. It becomes perhaps an illness when those feelings start to disable or disorder our lives. So, I can't do my job because I'm frightened of making a fool of myself in front of people. I can't get out of bed because I can't think of a good reason to get out of bed.
Yeah.
I can't sleep at night, no matter how hard I try, because I'm so preoccupied with things. Now, if that goes on for a few weeks or maybe longer, you would expect that in certain circumstances. But if that continues beyond that, it may well be an illness. And so the person who makes that decision really is a doctor. And so to go to a GP and say, look, this is my experience, this is my life story, what do you think? A GP would make a very careful judgment about whether or not she or he feels you're not well. And quite often will say, well, look, it sounds like natural to me. Go away, come back in a few weeks. So GPs are really, really reluctant to fill you full of drugs and stuff like that. Or they should be. And you'll get really, really good advice. Often, people are diagnosed with an illness, and your GP's advice is the right advice to follow to start with, and see where that goes. And talk to your pastor as well. Talk to somebody that you feel you can offload with. If you're in a context of a church, if you're not, find someone you trust that you can talk to. So I think the distinction between feelings and illness is to do with how much is disrupting your life and how long, over what time. So depression is normally 2 weeks. It would be, if you have been in this kind of paralyzed state for a couple of weeks, that would normally be part of a diagnosis. A sign that you're not well. Although obviously, if you're not likely to have a conversation with a doctor where he'd say, oh, well, it's only been 13 days, come back tomorrow. That doesn't happen. A lot of intuition and wisdom and experience goes into making these diagnostic decisions. Well beyond my pay grade, I have to say. So, thankfully.
And I guess I should go ahead if you're going to say something.
Well, the second part of the question I forgot. So, can you remind me of that?
Oh, it's just helping people to become more robust and resilient to those things, and to not travel down that path toward, in terms of allowing those things to develop if we can. And often the time we don't feel like we have a lot of choice; it just kind of happens, and other physical health conditions just happen.
Well, resilience is the holy grail, I think, of our culture, and particularly the holy grail of people who are trying to bring up kids and teach young people and lead a youth group and things like that. How do we build in resilience? So I can't give you the definitive answer to that question, but it's a lot to do with letting children, young people have experiences that are negative and difficult. They've got to learn to navigate. We can't protect our children from everything. Open lines of communication, talking through things with our kids, and role modelling how to respond in a crisis. If mum and dad behave like Corporal Jones in Dad's Army, every time something happens, then kids are going to start behaving like that as well. But I think the key thing, really, over and above all of those other things, is what a friend of mine calls the oldest logarithm in the book, which is LOVE, love.
Yeah.
Unconditional, bomb-proof,
Yeah.
summer and winter, rain or shine, love.
Yeah.
For all of us, and especially for kids and young people growing up. Ultimately, children who've got that kind of relationship with parents and others are going to have people to talk to when things get rough. And that's part of resilience as well.
Yeah.
Communities are part of resilience.
Yeah.
The church is an amazing resilience builder because you're part of a community that will support you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess it's kind of having that sense of vulnerability and being able to share it with others, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I guess, you know, one thing I kind of witness, or, you know, one temptation can be is that we don't talk enough, we don't share enough, we're not vulnerable enough until we kind of leave it too late, and then it, you know, the issues become bigger, or we've kept it to ourselves, and we haven't allowed other people to bear the load of it, you know. And so I guess that love, being able to share with others and embrace and exchange love is kind of where it starts.
Our culture is different to previous generations because we're prepared to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
As I was growing, I went to an English grammar school. This conversation would have been derided in the school that I grew up in, because we're talking about our feelings, and, you know, really feel like this, you just get on with it, and just no need to talk about it with anybody. Why make a fuss about it?
Yeah.
Our attitude to this is much, much healthier. And I think we need to learn to talk about these things realistically, in the sense that our mental health struggles are not an excuse for not getting on with life.
Yeah.
In the sense that these kinds of conversations can be very fruitful to help us to find ways forward. What we're going through with our mental health is the same as our physical health. And the background of this, in God's economy, is it can help us to shape us to be more like Christ. It can help us to shape us to be better people.
Yeah.
And so responding to this positively, openly, candidly, but in the same time, not in a defeatist way, I think is important. Yeah,
certainly. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, I will just go over to a few more comments. And we've got loads of comments. It's great everyone's commenting in. I'm not sure we'll get time to go through them all tonight, but let's pick out a few. So Tina said, knowing that someone has your back and looking out for us, I think is what gives her peace. Yeah, it gives me a sense of peace. My faith helps me through loads, including my severe depression and anxiety. I have to focus on him, and it comes over like a warm blanket, having a close relationship with him. So that is fantastic, knowing that, having that sense of peace, which is like a warm blanket. What a great description. Celia says, peace is not being at odds against God, it's having a relationship with him. So yeah, that's very true. And Ashley says, I'm so thankful for my faith, as even though my human side is worried sometimes, I know that God is with me and that he loves me, and that he holds me in his arms, and that the Holy Spirit is part of my soul inside me and allows me to feel God's love and his peace, God's comfort, and I know that will never leave me, and this gives me such great hope. Fantastic. So Jamie's said that the prayer in the war is amazing and in some ways not altogether surprising. When we were mentioned just before about the text you received and the people asking for prayer, that is amazing, you know, and I guess we shouldn't be surprised by that, and that in hard times people do turn to God. So let's see what else we've got here. And another comment from Amy: Celebrate Recovery is a great place and a great way to deal with the things that are difficult in life. It gives us good tools to know how to deal with things. So I don't know if you, are you familiar with the Celebrate Recovery?
Yes. Yeah, we have a number of people in our church who attend Celebrate Recovery sessions and have been doing for a while, and they speak very highly of it. A number of local churches who run Celebrate Recovery groups. So I've not been in a group myself, but it sounds very good. And the theological content, that word theology just means the thinking at the back end of it is very good indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. I've done a year of the CR material myself, and I found it really positive. And even just the the teaching input and the small groups afterwards, where you can share openly. I found really beneficial. And Amy said again, revealing the feeling is the beginning of healing. Copyright, celebrate recovery. So
is that right?
There we go.
Say that again. Say that again.
Revealing the feeling is the beginning of healing. Wow. Hey, if it rhymes, it's got to be true, right?
It's got to be true. Absolutely. True. Yeah. Have you heard of the rule of 20?
No, go for it. No.
Okay, this has got nothing whatsoever to do with mental health, but it will help you if you're working at home on a computer doing stuff like this all the time. I've tried to sell this to the RNIB, the Institute for the Blind, but they've not bought it yet. Every 20 minutes on a computer, look away for 20 seconds at something 20 feet away. And that rests your eyes to go back and do the next 20 minutes. So 20, 20, 20. You can have that one free.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. 20, 20, 20. So every 20 minutes, 20 feet away for 20 seconds?
Yep.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try that.
My wife works with blind people, and I've got loads of friends who are optometrists. So we worked that one out a few years ago.
Okay, very good. Okay, let's have a look at this then. Celia asks, do you think there has been a rise in mental health problems, and if so, why? I think we're chatting about that a bit before. Do you think mental health issues like this have been consistent throughout the generations, or do you think it's just that
I do.
Are just talking about it more nowadays?
I do, yeah. If you're a Bible reading kind of person, here's a project, okay? Read the Psalms, 150 song lyrics. They're not poems, they're song lyrics. 150 song lyrics. And ask yourself the question, every time you read a psalm, what was the mental state of the person who wrote these words? And I think you'll find that probably about a third of them were in an extremely anxious, sometimes depressive, often traumatized state of mind. They lived in a very trauma-rich, anxiety-rich culture, and there it is. The generation before mine, the generation that lived through World War II, didn't talk about their struggles. The psalmists did. They were totally upfront. The generation before mine, but I do think that the mental health issues that left many people with worked their way down through the next generation or two in the way that generation behaved towards people and towards others. We could explore that, but it'll take too much time. There was a lot of trauma that was just sat on. I don't think the experience of mental ill health is growing, but I do think we're talking about it, and that means we're more aware of it. Except I'd just chuck a couple of things in that I'm curious about at the moment. One is that I'm really concerned about the impact of the environment that teenagers are growing up in, which it seems to me is very new. It's very new because social media and bullying that can go on 24/7 is an environment we've not encountered before. The other thing is that young people reach puberty about 4 years earlier than they did 100 years ago.
Okay, right.
And I think puberty begins about 4 years earlier. And I think the impact of sexual maturity before you have a greater degree of emotional maturity bears examination. I think that may be having an impact that we don't fully understand yet.
Right.
So if you want a PhD, folks, there's one.
Very good. Okay. Okay, great. Yeah. Nanette says, my peace that passes my understanding comes from the knowledge that I've been walking in and through the valley of the shadow, that my God is able to deliver me, and yet whilst in that place, I'm acutely aware that even if he doesn't, then it is truly well with my soul. It is a tangible state of being in peace that simply cannot be explained. So yeah,
Yes.
I guess an overall kind of trust in God.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know the future, and despite the circumstances, it's okay.
That's a lovely way to put it as well. That's brilliant.
Yeah. We'll just see what else we've got. There's so many comments here. I'm not going to be able to. I do apologise. I'm not going to be able to mention them all. But that's great. You can all comment and chat amongst yourself about that. Oh, that's fine. I've seen some more actually. That's okay. So yeah, so Amy, it's great how these days we feel more able to talk about things. By doing this, it helps us not to fear or like feeling anxious or depressed, and to realise we're not alone in our feelings. So, yeah, so the feeling of not being alone and isolated in our own experiences, and to know that other people have very similar experiences can be a comfort. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. Profound truth. There we go. So there's another little handy quote there.
I'll have to write that one down as well. That's very good.
There we go. Yeah. Jamie says, I think mental health issues are the same level. People are talking about it more, and perhaps crucially, mechanisms for resilience are a lot weaker now. So maybe community and identity. So yes, maybe ways in which we would maybe hide those mental health issues in the sense of community, or we would maybe get by. Maybe some of those structures aren't there in our lives so much anymore.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And I think today's society, Tina says, I think today's society provides for isolationist people, spend so much time on their phones and their games and not actually spending time physically with people, and therefore will find it difficult to learn about relationships. As you know, text, and emails and that have no emotion, reveals no body language. So what would be your comment on that, David? As we become into a more technological advanced kind of age, we do spend a lot more time texting, emailing, this commerce, which doesn't really facilitate any sense of emotion, or a very limited sense. Do you think that has any kind of bearing or impact on
I suspect it does. I think the technology we have can be an incredible asset, but it can also be a distraction. I taught a group from Manpower, which is a company that helps young people, school leavers, to find jobs, and they do courses and seminars for young people to help them to get into employment. And I did a mental health first aid course for 15, 16 of their workers, and they were actually quite a young set of workers. They were probably early 30s. But they were quite interesting that they'd been working for this organization, many of them for about 10 years. And in the course of 10 years had noticed a profound change in the people that they're teaching, the people that they're mentoring and guiding. So this is kind of people in their late teens that they're mentoring. And one of them put it like this. She said, when I started this job, you could go into the common room at break time and you couldn't hear yourself think for the conversation. It was just so noisy. Now you go into the same room, same number of people, and you can hear a pin drop because everybody's on their phone. And I think that's a profound behavior change, which is bound to have repercussions further down the line with respect to the way that people conduct their relationships, bring up their kids, handle conflict, etc., etc., all of which feeds into good or poor mental health.
Yeah, no, certainly. Yeah, I have a similar experience, really. I take my little boy Noah to play football every Saturday morning, although not right now because of the current conditions. But he's only 3, so he'd take me as a little kickabout, and they do like a little training course. But I sit and watch, and all the parents, instead of watching their kids play football, most of them would just be on their mobile phones. And even rather than just watching their kids or just chatting with other parents, they're all kind of sat there on their phones. But I kind of feel the same temptation. I want to catch up on some texts, or I need to catch up on social media, and now's a good opportunity because I'm only going to watch my little boy play football. But I really try not to, because I want to engage with my son, even if it's just watching him and to not,
Yeah.
just not to be drawn away.
Imagine how it feels to be a child dancing or doing gymnastics or playing football, and your parents on the touchline in a different world.
Yeah.
And just to be present with your children.
Yeah.
To be present with a friend. To just sit there, relax, forget the rest of the world, listen, and let that person just unfold. That is such a gift to somebody.
Yeah.
Again, somebody once said to me, if you just sit and listen to somebody for 15 minutes, the chances are you're the first person ever to have done that. And that includes their parents. That includes their partner. But just to sit and listen and be, that's a tremendous gift. And we need to learn that gift. It's a bit like meditation, except that you're not focusing on yourself or maybe a passage of scripture. You're focusing on another person and letting that person communicate with you.
Yeah. No, that's great. So what we're going to do now is that if anybody wants to call in, I forgot to mention this at the start, but a lot of the people watching will be part of Hope Church, will have my number or know me on Facebook. So if you want to call me and you can, we can have you as like a call-in guest, you can do that. Or if you're commenting and you need you can maybe comment, I want to call in, and maybe I can give you my number or something like that. If you'd like to call in and to have a conversation with us, ask a question over the phone, maybe I've missed your question. I know I've missed lots of questions. Then you can ask that, in person. But also, what would be good to go now, because I realise time's ticking, and we don't want to be here all night. I guess it's kind of more to hone in on then is to what would be your advice or to us personally, also to us as churches, and maybe a voice to us as those who are believers or who have a relationship with God, and maybe even a voice to those who don't. What would your be advice to those, and how can we, what can we do? Or what is the hope you give?
Well, let me answer that question by sharing something with you, which is not mine. It's from an organisation called the New Economics Foundation, which is a group that was asked by the British government some years ago to do some work on what is it that enhances people's well-being. And they came up with a thing called the 5 ways to well-being. So if I can share my desktop with you, I'm going to try to show you this. Can you see that?
I can see that. Hopefully everyone else can see that.
You should see a clanger with 5 ways to well-being beside it. Is that okay?
Is that what it's called, a clanger?
Yeah. Have you seen the clangers on telly? They're little knitted creatures that live on the moon.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
it's an Oliver Postcake.
I've got it now.
I mean, I don't know if it's still on TV, but it was on TV quite a bit. Anyway, clanger, that's what that is. And my way of remembering the 5 ways to well-being are these. Coming up, they are. Yeah.
There we go. Yep.
So clang, and these five ways are connect, keep learning, be active, take notice, and give. And the evidence is from meta studies of research from all around the world that these 5 things are tremendously effective in maximizing our well-being. So connect is connecting with others, and that could be fairly superficial relationships with a bunch of people, but it does need to include 1 or 2 folks that you can talk very freely with, people you can be honest with, people you can be yourself with.
Yeah.
So that's important, and that really does have an impact on our mental health. The second is keep learning. That when we learn new things, we're keeping our brains going, we're keeping our brains alive. And it helps to give us a sense of achievement, a sense of purpose. So learning is quite important. And that could be maybe learning enough Spanish to go on holiday with. It might be just learning a new recipe to make a curry with. Just keep pushing the boundaries, really, in your life.
Okay, yeah.
The third thing is be active. And this is probably the best known one in the sense that we're we're often encouraged to move more and eat less. And this is part of that. It is to find a part of each day where you can be active, and that activity can take all kinds of forms, but it helps and emphasizes, enhances our well-being. The fourth one is take notice. And again, this is rather strange, but there's evidence to say that an office with green plants in it enhances well-being, where an office with no plants in it doesn't.
Right.
Having something to look at, enjoying the natural world. But it can also be, in a wider sense, take notice of yourself when you're getting a little bit irritable. Ask the question, why? What's going on that's made me a little bit snarky today? I didn't sleep last night. I was up at 3 a.m, couldn't get back to sleep. That sort of thing. Why did that happen? So take notice of yourself. And part of that also is to take control of your circumstances as far as you can. Control the world around you. Take notice. And the last one is give. British people are very generous. We love to give to charity, but that's subcontracting your giving. This sense of giving is be part of somebody else's support network. Be part of doing good for other people. So that's the kind of evidence base. You can, if you Google 5 ways to well-being, you'll get a link to New Economics Foundation and the Cabinet Office, because there are articles on both of those websites about this. But I like to take this a step further, because actually this isn't new. None of those things are new. And you'll find that they are pretty core to the lifestyle that the Bible teaches.
Right.
Connecting is really important. Having friends that you can talk to and be honest with and who'll support you. But more than anything, connecting with the God that made you is a key to this kind of deeper shalom, well-being that Jesus talks about. Churches are learning communities. We're learning stuff all the time. It's what we do on a Sunday morning when we meet together. It's what we do in little groups when we meet together in homes. It's about learning. It's about listening and pushing our boundaries and doing new things. Churches are active communities as well. Sometimes they're a bit too active. We're very activists. There's all sorts of stuff going on. And there's people in the church that we can be active with, we can do things with, we can exercise with. This is slightly forced to get it from the Bible. The Bible's not big on exercise. But I think a useful exercise, if you've read the New Testament half a dozen times and you're wondering what to do next, read a gospel with a map and work out how far Jesus walked in his lifetime, because he never got the train, he never got the bus. These were active people we're reading about in the Bible. Take notice, being aware of yourself, examining yourself, enjoying the world that God has made. That's part of the Bible's telling us how we can just enjoy joy from day to day and give. Churches are giving communities, Christians are giving people, finding ways of supporting them. What this amounts to basically is that Christian living is deeply therapeutic. Very, very therapeutic. Now, it can get crazy and it can drive you mad if it goes to extreme. So don't let that happen. But Christian living, a biblical lifestyle, is tremendously therapeutic. Take notice, of course. That's what we do when we worship. We're noticing who God is. We're noticing what he's done for us. And we internalize it and we shout about it and sing about it. That too is incredibly therapeutic. So yeah, I nicked that from the New Economics Foundation, but I think that's a great way to think.
No, that is really great. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and I guess as us as local churches then to be doing these things more often, or helping people engage in these different activities is really how we can serve and support people in mental health.
Yeah, I guess in the middle of a rough day, one of the things I say to myself is, 5 o'clock, I'm going to go home and I'm going to get changed and I'm going to go for a run. And that kind of helps to pull me through a really dry afternoon, really difficult afternoon. what I'm really saying is there's something better than that. Because, you know, I'll get to the stage in my life where I can't run. A couple of years ago, I couldn't walk because of a back problem. It was all taken away from me.
Right.
All the stuff I did that makes me feel good, I couldn't do. But it was one of the best times of my life because this other stuff, this shalom that Jesus talks about, was there. And that sense that I was learning things I'd never learn otherwise if I didn't go through affliction, that was really important. You need to have something in your life that will hold your weight when things get tough and when your normal support structures are taken away. This is it, folks. This is it. And I know that from my own experience.
Yeah, no, certainly, yeah. I don't know if you want to expand on that a bit more, David, especially maybe even to any people that are listening or watching that, you know, that don't have that like a personal walk with Jesus. You know, how central has that been to you in your life? And I guess, like I imagine that is your constant anchor. What kind of helps you navigate, these things in life? Yeah.
For me, to start with, the question was, is this true? So I came to Christian faith from a very non-Christian background. My parents weren't believers and taught me not to believe. So, and my school, my upbringing, my education taught me not to believe. So for me, when I encountered Christian faith when I was in my 20s at university, the first question for me was, is this true? And for time's sake, I'll cut that story short by saying I came to believe it is true. Jesus lived, Jesus died, Jesus rose from the dead. The markers are there in history for us to be able to say, yeah, I don't know everything, but I know I can trust this. And we talk about faith, we talk about trust, and I've mentioned that word a few times. For me, faith is not saying, here's a list of things that I can say yes to. Faith is actively trusting God and learning that you can trust him. So if you were taking part in a fundraising abseiling event off some immense building, the one important question is, can you trust the thing this rope is attached to, and will it hold the weight of my life? And trusting God is that. It's putting your life in God's hands. It's trusting the weight of your life on God. My experience is that you can. Now, this is the important thing. Sometimes you get the impression that Christians are saying, if you believe, you will never be afraid. That isn't true. If you believe, you'll never suffer from an anxiety-related illness. That isn't true. I know that isn't true because I have suffered in that kind of way. If you believe, then you will never be challenged in these. That is not true. What the Bible says, and what I would say is, I've proved this in my own experience to be true, is that when these difficulties happen, you have an anchor, a lifeline, an abseil rope, which will hold the weight of your life. And at those deeper moments of profound challenge, you can know peace, this shalom, which is, well-being, but it includes a sense of tranquility, a sense that, hold on, you're safe, you're okay. Ultimately, the final question, where will I go when I die, is settled. That's settled, it's sorted. The questions in the meantime, what am I going to do if my pension fund tanks and it isn't there for me in a year's time? I don't know. We'll just see what happens when we get there. But the God that I believe in, the God that I follow, is immanent. He's present in my life, and he can be trusted. So I am not afraid. I am not afraid.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. And it starts really with a little step. It starts with a step of trust.
Yeah.
Faith is a bit like a muscle. It starts out fairly flabby, but it gets stronger and stronger as you use it. And learning to trust God is a process. It's not a switch where it's not binary. It's either there or not. It's an organic process. It grows, and your faith grows and develops over time.
Yeah. No, that's great. No, thanks for that, Dave. Yeah, and that's so true. You know, like certainly in my life as well, God has to be the anchor that I continually depend on Him, trust in Him, know His presence, know His love, and that guides me constantly, both on the highs, you know, on the hills, so to speak, but also in the valleys. You know, whenever you know, if I have times of darkness or uncertainty, then that trust and that confidence is there in Him, which is such a comfort.
I'd say something else as well, and that is that God isn't offering Dave, me, a little private bubble of peace and security because I trust Him. That's not how it works. God's inviting me to make a journey with Him in company with loads of other people.
Right, yeah.
And that community is really important. I'm sort of building up to saying, look, you do have to do some of the God stuff for this to connect with you, because part of God's plan for our lives is that we be part of a community where He is central, and His word counts, and we're learning and growing together. That's been so really important. My friends, some of whom I can say anything to, are such an important part of this support network, and that we need. So it's not about being a private individual, you know, God's up there in His heaven and He gives me peace. It's about being part of a community that's experiencing this together and growing in this together. That's important too.
Yes.
I think the church is a therapeutic community at its very best. And Jesus said that the kingdom of God is a bit like a mustard seed. You plant it in the garden, it's tiny, but it grows. And when it grows, it's fully grown. It's a shelter for the birds of the air. And I think that's what the church is meant to be. That's what our communities are meant to be.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, that's great. That's awesome, Dave. That's great. And that I imagine is probably quite a good place to start to round things off. Our discussion, unless you've got a lot more things that you want to add in.
No, I'd stop it now before I start rambling on again, I think.
All right, okay. We haven't been rambling so far, but that's been great. So we're going for about an hour or so, and I think that's quite a good place. What I'll just say to anybody that's listening or watching is that if you've still got a burning question you want to ask, or if anything that I've missed, you can just give me a call now, or stick it in the comments. Hopefully we can get that answered. And then what I think I'll do, Dave, I'll invite you to, if you can just close in prayer for us, that'd be great.
Love to,
in a moment. And then we did have a song that we were going to play during our talk, just to allow people to think about questions and comments and fire those in, but we've been inundated. So what I think we'll do is that we'll just play that song at the end. So I say our goodbyes, we'll play that song,
sounds good.
And then people can just watch that at the end, which will be really great. So
just to explain, prayer is talking to God. It's as simple as that. And you can be as yourself with God as you can with your best friend, and as blunt with Him as you can with your best friend. So that's all we're going to do. And if you just like to eavesdrop on what I'm saying, this is how you pray. Father, thank you that through this amazing technology, we've been able to have a conversation together And thank you for everybody that's been part of this conversation on Facebook. And Lord, thank you for the thoughts you've planted in our minds and the things you've challenged us with. Thank you, Lord, for everybody who's been watching this, those who are convinced, those who are skeptical, those who just think this is hilarious, really. But Father, I'd just like to ask you to help every one of us, whoever we are, whatever our state of mind, just to learn to appreciate you for who you are, so that we can look at the world and feel we know its author, and so we can look at human beings and know that we're special because we're made by you and for you. And that changes our lives. It changes the way we view everything. And Father, just bless you for the experience we've had tonight. I want to ask particularly for folk who've been part of this, who are bruised and sore because of their own experience of mental illness. Give them the support and the help that they need, whether it's medical or pastoral. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Dave. Thank you so much for coming along virtually and giving us your time and your insight and your experience. From all the comments that we've had, I'm sure that it's been really beneficial. It's been great. And just for everyone that's watching, we're planning on having Dave back in July. It may not go to plan.
All being well.
All being well. Who can then deliver some of this kind of mental health first aid training to us? And that might be a Saturday morning session. So that'll be really great. If that goes ahead, we'll let everyone know, obviously in due course. But yeah, it'd be great to have you on the ground up in Lancaster.
Look forward to it.
And give us some more direct input.
That'd be good.
But thank you so much for tonight. What we'll do, we'll play the song to finish out on, which is I think it's by a couple called Luke and Emma. He used to go to our church. They live down south now in Newbury, which would be great. And everyone can use this as an opportunity to pay attention, to have attention, to pay attention to the song, and just to be mindful about that. But thank you so much, Dave, for tonight, and we will leave it there. So
that's a pleasure.
All right, take care. Good night, everyone.
had begun.